Ndewo. Ndewo is an Igbo Nigerian word that means long life. Well, actually means hello, but it has a deeper meaning. And that is long to all of you. And that is what I hope and pray for each and every one of you gathered here underneath the sound of my voice. Wherever you are, I hope all is going well with you. Welcome to Ndomodo. I'm your host, Dr. Onyoha Osimere. Ndomodo is Igbo Nigerian for wisdom, words of wisdom that I share with guests to let you know that you are loved and we care about you and we want to share something you can add to your repertoire. Today is a very special segment. Usually Ndomodo is on Saturdays, but today we have a special segment because we are going to talk to organizers of a wonderful march. I have to call it wonderful because it's bringing people together. It's bringing Nigeria together to address some of the challenges that we are facing. But today in particular, we are going to be talking about the challenge, the religious acrimony that's going on in Nigeria right now. The marchers are hoping that they can bring attention out, bring the world's attention to this problem, and that is the killings of Christians and Muslims by religious terrorists and jihadists in Nigeria. What do the organizations want to achieve today? They're going to talk to us about it. The march is going to be held in Atlanta, Georgia on Friday, October the 8th, 2021. It's going to be at 1 p.m., but they're asking everyone to arrive at 10 a.m. because of traffic and parking and all that. So, and it's going to be at the Centennial Olympic Park, British Consulate, downtown Atlanta office. Joining me today to have this conversation is Dr. Orabueze. Dr. Orabueze, welcome. Welcome. It is wonderful to have you here, and I applaud you for the hard work. I mean, it's not easy to organize a march, certainly. So congratulations for the hard work that you're doing, and I'm sure it's going to be a powerful march, and it's going to bring a lot of people together. And also joining us today is Dibia Ochoaja. Dibia, UD, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing? Hello, doctor.
Well, all right.
All right.
Good to have both of you. I'm sure the rest of them are going to join us, but we are going to get started. We're going to get started with the discussion because Dr. Orabueze, why don't you get started by introducing yourself? Okay, just a moment. I think you have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Is that okay? Okay. I'm sorry about that.
Good evening.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Ngozi Orabueze. I'm a family nurse practitioner and also a psychiatric nurse practitioner here in Atlanta, Georgia. We are going to be talking today about this coming march we have on Friday, October the 8th, 2021. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so very much. And Dibia Ochoaja, UD, could you please introduce yourself?
I'm Dibia Ochoaja for Global Faith Ministries of Chiism. I'm also a UX UI engineer for the Cobb County School Systems. And I'm just so proud of this march that is going to happen on Friday. And hopefully we can bring much needed attention to this issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to start with you, Dr. Orabueze. The security situation in Nigeria has degenerated to the extent that there's talk that there are some countries that are at war that fare better than Nigeria in terms of security. What is the reason for this insecurity? I mean, think about it. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. Nigeria is supposed to be an exemplary African nation. What's going on? What do you think is causing the insecurity in Nigeria?
Thank you for that question. I think The insecurity stems from different things. It has been something that's been building up over the years, so it didn't just start overnight. And part of that is the lack of trust in the leadership. There is a lack of trust by the citizens. There is insecurity, a lot of killings of innocent Nigerian men, women, and children. There is attack. A lot of Nigerians are becoming strangers in their own country, being displaced by the Fulani herdsmen that graze openly from state to state. There is a lack of job among our youths. People go to colleges, they're out, there's no job, and there's no provisions for taking care of them. There is a lot of, I'll call it helplessness and hopelessness by the citizenry. And when all these come together, um, it gets to a point where people will rather just be on their own. People have lost hope in the leadership, and self agitation increases. There is the Boko Haram, the terrorists invading all parts of Nigeria, and people are standing up to defend themselves, self defense, almost in all parts of Nigeria. So, like I said, is a lot of things put together.
A lot of things. I'm going to ask you the same question, DB Ochoaja. What is contributing? Because it has laid it out. Well, what are your thoughts in terms of what are all these other things, perhaps that she has named that you may think of, that's causing this insecurity in Nigeria?
I mean, for me, it's very simple, but then very difficult, just because of how we got to this point. When I recall some of the conversations that you and I had, I used to remember you saying to me, if you have a fever, is your problem the fever that you have, or is your problem the reason why you have the fever? What do you address? You can address the fever just to keep you from dying till you address the reason why you have the fever. So you take your medication to get your fever down, Motrin or ibuprofen, whatever it is that you got to take to do it, based on hopefully doctor's advice. And then once you get the fever down, then you start trying to mitigate the cause of your fever. Corruption and the violence that we see, the sense of hopelessness that Dr. Ngozi had just pointed out, these are all symptoms of a larger problem. And Nigeria has not in any way, shape, or form since the Civil War tried to address this problem. Why we have this feeling of hopelessness, why we have corruption, why we have bad leadership, why the educational system is not working, why you can't get any decent medical care in Nigeria, why we continue to elect corrupt leadership. All those things that ail Nigeria, there's a cause for it. Cause and effect. That's just the way it is. Truth is a hard pill to swallow. And when you're trying to address the issue that is really facing Nigeria and you speak on the truth, there's always this pushback because those people that are benefiting from the chaos in Nigeria don't want to see the truth come out or see the truth addressed, so that the changes that need to be made will be made so that people can have a more wholesome life in Nigeria. There's a war going on there in Nigeria. We look at it as political, but it's really about religious torment. That's what's going on in Nigeria. We're dealing with the after effect of Abrahamic religious misunderstanding by their adherents. And I'm talking about Judaism, Islam, and Christianism. People in the north are mostly Muslims, and people in the south are mostly Christians. So there is the conflict right there. Two religions that are pretty much one and the same, that believe the same thing, adhere to the 10 Commandments. Christianism believes that Christ is, the Messiah, the Son of God. Muslims believe in Christ, but believe that Jesus is a messenger, while Muhammad is a Hebrew last messenger of God. So there's really not much disagreement between both religions. They believe in thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not commit adultery. They're really one and the same. And that's one of the truths that need to be addressed so that we can start to see the similarities between these Abrahamic religions that has been tormenting Nigeria since its independence. Even in South Sudan.
But let me ask you a question. I want to interject there. Is it the religion that's the issue, or these people practicing outside of the tenets of the religion? Because there's religion, then there are people who are practicing it not the way it's supposed to be practiced.
Absolutely.
They bring their own, they juxtapose all kinds of things, and they become something totally different.
Yes.
I want us, because we're going to go back in that, but I want us to come back to the issue of the march. And that issue, the point you're making is good, but that issue is the fact that you've got killings of Christians. Okay, thou shalt not kill is the foundational principle of Islam.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why are they targeting Christians? You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't make sense that the Christians are being targeted, whereas the religion says thou shalt not kill. So it's not just Christianity that says thou shalt not kill. Islam says it. So why is it that the Christians are being targeted? Because that's what this march is about. The targeting, the killing of the Christians. So I want to ask a question. Are the Christians killing too? Are the Christians involved in this killing? Or is it just the terrorists, or what they call them, Mujahideen, whatever,
Boko Haram.
the Boko Haram and all of that. Why are they focused on killing Christians? Why is that a focus, Dr. Orabueze? Why is that a focus?
Thank you so much for that question. What I believe is the cause of this is the failed leadership we have caused so many problems in Nigeria. The failed leadership. Some quarters have it that Nigerian politicians, some of them that emanate from certain quarters of the country, believe in numbers. They believe the number is what is going to get them to power. They believe bringing people from all parts of Africa and authorizing them to vote during Nigeria elections will give them the power they desire. So, even though Nigeria is a secular state, where all Christians and Muslims are supposed to be respected equally, what we have right now in Nigeria is a situation where some of these people that have been brought into Nigeria by the so-called political class, after they've been used, let me use that word, after they've participated in elections to put some of these leaders into power, it becomes hard to now give them what they were promised before they were used for that election. So when it becomes difficult to reach the agreement or settle them the way they were promised before they participated in putting these guys into power, then it becomes a problem because they are looking for a place to settle. They are looking for something to eat. They are looking for means to an end. And when they don't get that, they resort to mostly violence. Violence in the sense that this violence takes them to attack innocent Nigerians in order to find a place to stay, in order to find a home where they can live. And in doing that, indigenous Nigerians become victims of this. So you found these terrorists that invaded Nigeria. You found these people that were brought in to participate in election. You found all of them coming together to now become a chaos for the country, terrorize the indigenous of the country. So the Christians have been massacred most of the times. Muslims are killed too, but the majority of the killings are the Christians. And I believe the reason is because you have to look at who is killing who. And then you have to look at the agenda by the Nigerian leaders. Apart from allowing these people to help them into power through their vote because of the numbers, there's also the issue of trying to make Nigeria a place where it's going to be comfortable. Some leaders, even in the Nigerian leadership, has talked about Islamization of Nigeria, Fulanization of Nigeria. But you have to look at what is the country leadership doing to make sure that there is fairness in Nigeria, there's equity, there's justice. Every single Nigeria have a sense of belonging. Every single Nigeria feels that Nigeria is their home. What is the leadership doing? And in that area, you will discover that there's a lot of discrepancies and a lot of problems between what the leadership is supposed to be doing in a secular state, a secular country like Nigeria, and what they are actually doing. So you find the genocide of Christians mostly in Nigeria. The report is all over. It has been carried by world papers, world research bodies, and I can go ahead and give you the statistics. A lot of Christians have been murdered in Nigeria. In this quarter alone, the first quarter of 2021, the report had it that over 1,000 Christians have been murdered in Nigeria. So the leadership really knows what is going on, even though some of them are not coming out to say that. But it has come to the point where a lot of Nigerians also know what is going on. So that is why it's become overwhelming right now for the leadership to have.
It's gotten out of hand.
It is.
It's gotten out of hand. You know, when you allow something, when you had the opportunity to have control over something, and you let it go because, well, you know, sometimes the attitude, it'll sort itself out. Well, it doesn't always happen that way. Or DBRGIE, I want to ask you a question. You know, there's certainly, I mean, I see the video every day of the Fulani herdsmen targeting Christian farmers because of their religion. Is it because of their religion though? Is it just strictly because of that, or the tradition of herding cattle, you know, and going into land that belongs to the mostly Igbo farmers? But I understand it's not just happening in Igbo land though; it's happening everywhere. The herdsman, am I right, UD?
Yeah,
it's not just happening.
Out west, you know, it's happening. But, you know, like the doctor had mentioned, and to address your question, Dr. Ngozi has mentioned, you know, regardless of cause and effect, in the end, it really boils down to leadership, right? It boils down to leadership. And Nigerian leadership is affected in two major fronts. One is tribal, and then the other one is religious, right? And because of that, as a British experiment, Nigeria really does not have any sense of nationalism. There's no cultural consistency. Okay, it's building a castle on sand, And then when it crumples, which is what we're experiencing now, there's chaos everywhere. So the headsmen attack innocent people, not necessarily because of religion, but more of economics and whatever prejudices that they may feel that Christians or people in the South have, against their practice of cattle grazing. Vegetation in the North has been decimated through incessant grazing. The more fertile area in Nigeria is out west and down south, right? So you see them marching the cattle to the south to graze. Now, the funny thing about it is that before the Civil War and after the Civil War into the 80s, we always had these cattle rearers grazing cattle, disrupting traffic with their little bows and arrows. Now they carry AK-47. So there's a political aspect to this chaos. And that political aspect, like Dr. Ngozi, mentioned, is the idea that the people up north, because of religion, want to dip the Quran to the south and pretty much turn Nigeria into an Islamic state. You have over 4 million Christians just in the southeast. Then you got in the west, you got a few more million Christians over there. So as far as the elite that are running the country, that provide this ammunition and protect these terrorists, Boko Haram or whatever you want to call them, these Christians pose a threat to their ultimate ambition, which is to turn Nigeria into an Islamic state. ISIS was killing Muslims, Christians, anybody to establish their caliphate. It is no different in Nigeria. And you have to also understand that this is something that when the British left Nigeria, the die was cast, right? Nigeria was formed without any sense of nationalism. And right off the bat, there was suspicion between the Muslim North and the Christian South. Zeko ultimately became the Governor General, and then the President of Nigeria. Then you had the Prime Minister, from the North, who actually ran the country. But this suspicion started right after the British left. It was set up, Nigeria was set up the way it is now. We are just now, feeling the effects of the initial construct of the country. There's no sense of nationalism. In America, it is about, I'm American before I'm from Texas, before I'm from Georgia. In Nigeria, there's no sense of I'm Nigerian first, before I'm Igbo, before I'm Hausa, before I'm Yoruba. If somebody asks you where you're from, I'm Nigeria. The next question they're going to ask you is, what part
of Nigeria? You're right.
But if an American goes to Nigeria and you say, I'm from the United States, guess what? He doesn't have to tell you he's from California.
That's
I'm
right.
British. They don't have to tell you I'm Scottish or Irish or whatever else. If I'm French, I'm French. But in Nigeria, with all these different tribes burdened with foreign religion, this is the result of not facing the truth. It's a bitter pill. But in the end, everything that we're experiencing in Nigeria has a cause. And that cause has to be addressed. And that is the jettisoning of our culture, lack of cultural consistency, no sense of nationalism, beholding to theologies that don't do anything to unite us as a people.
That's just the key thing right there.
Yeah,
that's the key thing. You got it right there. Where there's no interest, and as a matter of fact, Ola Adebayo has said, I believe that the issue is bigger than religious intolerance. It is an ethnic agenda that uses religion as an excuse to conquer, just like you said. And both of you have said it. The objective is to create a Muslim state. You see, so it's not just about the religion. Okay, it's part of it, but it's not just about it. And here's another thing: if the Christians pose a threat to them, which is the Muslims, then they would only kill Christians and not non-Christians in the South and in the Middle Belt. Somebody want to expand on that? What he's saying there?
Yeah. Again, you have cause and effect, and you have all these little bitty pieces that make up, an excuse, for the violence that you see in Nigeria. Or at least explains it. But in the end, there's an agenda by certain people. There's an agenda by certain people in power. They are not willing to give up that power, and they will maintain that power regardless of what it costs in human lives. They don't care if they're killing Muslims up north to maintain that status quo. And of course, Christians are the easiest target for them because, as far as they're concerned, it's an obstacle to their ultimate agenda of creating an Islamic state. Their biggest agenda, obstacle, are not the traditional religionists. How many people in Africa, in Nigeria, in the South or Southwest are involved in actual cultural theology? Less than 1%. They're mostly Christians or Muslims. Christians in the South and Southwest. So it poses a threat to this tribal authority that runs Nigeria. They uses their religion because of the fact that most of the people in the North are Muslims who really don't, how do I say it, who actually practice Islam for what it is, right? The regular Hausa man up north going about his business and all that they've been living with people from the South for generations up north without any problem. If you go to
right now, it's the agenda.
It's the agenda.
The problem is there's an agenda.
There's an agenda by the elite that is running the country. It's evidence in the military, where you have most of the military officials are Northerners. It's evidence in the political system in Nigeria, where government appointments are mostly people from the North, right? So if you go to Arochukwu, there's an Islamic university or school over there run by an Igbo Muslim. And they've been there since the 60s. Nobody ever bothered them. They don't bother anybody. They're not involved in violence. So as far as religion of Christianity is concerned and Islam is concerned and all that, these are peaceful religions. But unfortunately, human beings, for what it is that we are, use religious doctrines to pursue their political and economic agenda.
Ambition.
And that's
right.
just the truth of Nigeria. And because of it, the very essence of the religion is lost, which is don't preach exclusive truth, my way or the highway. In Judaism, there's exclusive truth in it. What is the exclusive truth in Judaism? The exclusive truth being preached in Judaism is that the Hebrews claim that they're the children of God. They're God's people, nobody else. If you're Mayan, Aztec, Chinese, no, you're not God's child. You're not God's children. If you're Hebrew, you are. In Islam, your salvation is based on your belief in Muhammad as the last messenger of God. And if you don't subscribe to that theology, you're the enemy. And then in Christianism, you have to accept that your salvation is granted to you if you believe in Christ. And if you don't, then regardless of whether you're a good person or whatever, you will not see the kingdom of God. So when you preach exclusive truth in these Abrahamic religions that believe basically the same thing, Abraham is the father of humanity, Islam believes it, so does Christianism and Judaism. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not lie. There's really not much difference between all these religions. If we practice a religion for what it is, we will have peace. But unfortunately,
I'm sorry, because you're right. The religions mean well. You know, it is a way to control bad behavior, really, when all is said and done, absolutely. You know, to adhere to societal values. But it becomes a problem when we don't see eye to eye, you know, my way or the highway. And so it's almost the same thing as here in the United States, where, you know, you set people as apart by saying, oh, this is the only way, or this the right says this is the only way, the left says this is the only way.
Okay.
They understand the frailties and they use that against the population. So let me ask Ngozi this question. They are local Muslim and herder organizations that are saying it's not us, it's the unaffiliated Fulani who are the ones that are doing all these targeted Christian killings. See, my thought about these are pretty much what Ngozi has said earlier. These people were brought in. They're not Nigerians, so they have no emotional ties to our people. What are your thoughts on that, Ngozi?
Yeah, thank you so much. By the way, Dr. Adebayo is waiting for you to let her into the program. Okay.
I don't see her. Where is she?
Okay.
I don't see her.
She sent me a text that she's waiting to be let into the program. She's on the waiting room. I don't know.
I didn't see anyone in the waiting room.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So your question is about, okay. So what was your last question again, Professor Owa?
I was talking about the fact that there are some Fulani,
okay.
local Fulani Muslims. They're saying it's not them.
Okay. So one thing I have to say is this. She says she's on the backstage, but her video is not on. Okay. Yeah, that's from Dr. Adebayo. What I have to say in respect to that is this. Nigeria is going through a very turbulent time. Both those inside Nigeria and those outside Nigeria, we're all feeling the pain of what is going on inside our country today. And like Udi really said, it's all about holding on to power, even if it involves massacring or killing the whole Nigerians. It doesn't matter, as long as those who holds that power retains that power. That is the bottom line. But it would be hard to have peace in a country where there's no justice, in a country where there's no equity, and in a country where there's no fairness. Nigerians live peacefully in the past, the Muslims, the Christians, but one thing I say to my Muslim brothers and sisters is this: they are killing them here and there. But we all have to come together as Nigerian indigenous citizens and confront this monster. I encourage them. We all have to come together, because if we do not tell somebody our problem, nobody will know what is going on. It was okay to say, I don't want to say it, because if I say it, they will come and attack me. I don't want to say it because I know how these people are. I don't want to be out because I know them. But how can people know? How can the world know what is happening? The things you're going through, the oppression, the suppression, the killings that are going on right in your community. How can the world know? If you don't come out and start screaming about it and start telling the world, they are killing us. My people are dying every day. How is the world going to know if we don't talk about it? So to my fellow Muslims, to my fellow sisters and brothers that are Muslims, I'm a Christian. To my fellow brothers and sisters who are indigenous Nigerians, who are Christians, or who are Muslims, I encourage them to let the world know. Let them start screaming. Let the world know what is going on. Let the world know that these terrorists are also killing the Muslims in Nigeria. Because if it's just the Christians that are shouting and screaming and crying, it looks as if they're just the ones that are being killed. But the little Christians, the few of them that come together, maybe to march against the genocide and the killings, they are not going to solve the whole problem in the country, Nigeria. So those Muslims that are being massacred too, their brothers and sisters, they have elites among them. They all need to come together and form themselves into a group and start letting the world know that, yes, they are killing the Christians more. They're also killing our fellow Muslims. That is the only way we all can come together and confront this tactic. This problem is not going to stop if some people that are being killed believe that, oh, only the Christians have to go and march. Only the Christians have to make noise about it. No, everybody have to come out together and let the world know they are killing my people, because he or she who wears the shoe knows where it pinches. So that is going to be a collective effort. Again, those people that have brought this mayhem to the country, they know themselves, and Nigerians know them. It's only a matter of time. But if they think that maybe by suppressing the people, by attacking the opposition, by cutting off telecommunications or media streams so that Nigerians cannot communicate, all those things are peripheral. I call them, what word do I use? They are not a lasting solution to what we are seeing. So Nigerians recently, just last 2 weeks, the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, named 6 Nigerian terrorist sponsors. And these are Nigerians sponsoring terrorism. The United Arab Emirates named them. And this is in Nigeria. So we expect the president of the country to openly come out and condemn these people and let Nigerians know he will use everything within his power to bring these people to justice. He has to create that enabling environment to make all Nigerians feel that he is fighting these people. So it is always going to be a collective effort. There are some unwritten words in Nigeria. Nigeria, I keep saying, is a secular state. But Nigeria is a member of OIC. Nigeria has been dragged into the mud by the leaders we have. And I'm very happy that a lot of Nigerians are standing up to these leaders. A lot of Nigerians are challenging them, letting them know that this country belongs to all of us. Those that believe that they have a monopoly of power are doing the country a lot of injustice. And their behavior, directly or indirectly, has created a lot of monsters all over Nigeria. But in the east, in the west, in the north, in the south, in the middle belt, there are monsters everywhere. And the question is, who created these monsters? Who created them by their policies? So the time has gone when Nigerians are cowed, or Nigerians are terrorized, or Nigerians are killed, and they'll be on the crying end, on the receiving end, because the monsters have been created all over Nigeria.
They're taking advantage. There are people taking advantage of all this chaos and then trying to blame it on certain people, whereas it's really, it's not. I don't even think a lot of this is coordinated anymore. You know, the monsters, like you said, have been let out, so everybody's just, hey, you know, there's chaos, let me do my thing. You know, which is
the cat is
exactly.
Yeah.
The cat is out of the bag.
Let me before you continue, Dr. Adebayo is on. I can't bring her in. It's saying that she's on only audio.
Audio, yeah. Okay, yeah, because my my camera on my on my system is down, so I can't use it right now.
Okay.
So that's why, yes. My apologies for that.
Okay. How are you this evening? Thank you for joining us.
I'm good. Thank you for having
I'm
me.
going to ask Siso in. You're welcome. I want to ask you a question. What has been international? I don't see where there's a lot of international condemnation about what's going on. Dr. Adebayo, what do you say about that?
Well, I believe for a long time we have been quiet, or we've been very quiet about what is going on here. We haven't really, a lot of us outside of the country, we've gone about our businesses as if, what's going on back home has nothing to do with us. So that's one reason. Number two, I believe that, because even the people back home, even when you attempt to speak up, the people back home will tell you, no, don't say anything. No, we're fine. We're going to adjust. So I think with that, combined with the fact that, we too have things going on in our lives here. So combined with the fact that the people at home, are telling us, no, we don't want you to get in trouble. We don't want anything to happen to you. So all of those contributed to the fact that for a very long time, we haven't really, spoken up, or we have not really, addressed any of this. But it's been going on for a very long time. Let me tell you something, because I've been hearing about, religious, why they are killing Christians, and, it's actually it's an agenda that they have had for a very long time. You see, when somebody tells you who they are, right, believe them. In 1960, back in the 60s, just before independence, or just before we received the independence, Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto, who was the premier of the northern region, he said in an interview, he said that the new nation, which is Nigeria, that in the new nation they will use the northern minorities as willing tools to suppress and to subjugate southern Nigeria, that they should not and will not allow Southerners to rule themselves. It's a bigger agenda than religion. They're just using the religion as a tool. So, so that is what they are, it's what the current, their current representative, Buhari, they are basically picking from what their fathers or their forefathers, their grandfathers already laid out for them. These plans were already laid out for them. It's already laid out for them.
Yeah.
So let me ask all of you, Yudi, let me ask you this. If this is an orchestrated plan, it's a plan orchestrated to destabilize the East and create a whole different religious leadership, if you will, for the country, which is Muslim, then the question I have is, where do we go from here? Who's listening? Are the leaders listening? I mean, there's an outcry. I don't know. I mean, you say, whose report should we believe? Every day I see all these pictures of young people being murdered, people being killed, and all of that. And the question is, who is listening? The people are crying. We got a march coming up on Friday. And then I ask myself, all right, what's going to come out of this march? Who's listening? If the international body are not intervening in any way, who's listening? Whose report? Who's taking all of this in and saying it's time for a change?
Well,
here's the thing.
Nothing, just like what you said. Look, it's nothing new. It didn't start today. This is ongoing. So is it just Nigeria itself, or are there outside players who encourage chaos?
Outside players. There are outside players. I just want to make a few points, because we're trying to get to the root of this thing. And so it's important to really, put the truth out there and take it for what it is. Dr. Ngozi alluded to it, and Dr. Adebayo also just alluded to it. This stuff is orchestrated. And behind all this political orchestration and tribal agitation is religion. Mm-hmm. Let's just not act as if it doesn't have anything to do with it. Because if the Northerners were Christians, we would be dealing with what we're dealing with right now? I don't think so. And if the Southerners were Muslims, we will not be dealing with that right now. Right from the get-go, this political destabilization of the South and its ultimate annexation by the North was orchestrated, like I mentioned earlier in one of my points, the fact that this was all orchestrated when we got our independence. And then the next point I just want to point out is this: you cannot hold the people at gunpoint that don't want to be held anymore. Any kind of foreign or international recognition almost always is tied to what their interest is in Nigeria, whether it's political or economic. If there's an economic benefit for the West, they will be there. They might even send troops or do whatever is necessary for them to, help to stamp out this problem. There has to be some kind of carrot for them to really get involved. But secondly, like Dr. Ngozi mentioned, this is a problem for everybody that says, I'm a Nigerian. We have to all come together wholesomely and address this issue. If we cannot address this issue as one unit, then we're just whistling Dixie or whistling to the wind. It's not going to happen. And lastly, we also have to understand that a lot of these killings is also being done by invisible groups that already believe that they could hide behind the cloak of a terrorist organization like Boko Haram. So they have their own agenda. And when they go out and kill and kidnap people for ransom, we automatically think, oh, it's Boko Haram doing it. Boko Haram is not the only entity in Nigeria that is benefiting from this chaos. I can equivocally tell you that there are people that are now using the political, religious instability and the ethnic cleansing and killing to further their own agenda because Nigeria is not providing enough economic resources for its citizens. So some people use violence and kidnapping as their own economic instrument of survival. If we had a stable country, Nigeria, where you go to university, you graduate, you could get a job. If we have the society where opportunity is offered to anybody who is willing to work, if you didn't have 80% of the population living below poverty lines, we wouldn't have this problem. So it is just one of those things where it's like a domino effect. One problem at the top, leadership, and whatever that agenda is, creates a country, a situation where the youth are just milling around, even with their college education, with nothing to do. The most you can now hope for is to be a houseboy, go to the motor park, get on the bus and try to get people into a bus and drop them off somewhere. People, there are kids on the bus, driving buses that have degrees in computer science, master's degrees. If you don't have economic opportunity, if the leadership of Nigeria is not concerned with the welfare and well-being of its citizens, we're never going to solve this problem, even with international limelight on it. People have to have opportunities. Somebody needs to wake up in the morning, go to work, make enough money to get married, to support their family, send their children to school, have adequate medical hospitals, institutions that will take care of the people. Nigeria is a country that doesn't give opportunities to those people that deserve it. The most you could hope for if you live in Nigeria is to be a trader, to do some kind of business. You're not going to graduate and say, everybody's a business person. You don't have any industries. We think we have a great economy because we have oil, but there's no industrialization in Nigeria. So you cannot create opportunities for people. Lack of opportunities, bad leadership that does not care about the well-being of its citizens is the reason why this problem will never go away, regardless of international spotlight, until we as Nigerians all over the world refuse and not shy away from facing the gun, willing to sacrifice whatever is necessary not just for us, but for the next generation. This problem.
Well, I've got to be honest. Thank you very much, Georgialabama. You know, I've got to be very honest with you. I'm so disappointed this evening in our community. This was supposed to be an opportunity for us to talk to each other. You know, I mean, just talking about it, you can't change a government if you're scared to talk about it. And I don't see that that the community came out to have this conversation. So we have to stop being so shy. You know, look, whatever. If you have an opinion about something and you're concerned about something, it's not going to be up to the Europeans. It's not going to be up to the Chinese. It's not going to be up to anybody to solve our problems but us. We should have been here talking. You know, nobody cares about us. I mean, we're not the only ones having this conversation. This conversation is being had everywhere. So we need to develop enough courage as a people to say, hey, let me talk to my brothers and sisters. Let's have this conversation. But out of fear, and which unfortunately that's where they want us to be, afraid to speak up. But if we're going to go out and march, we should also have didactic discussion, because you can carry all the placards you want. If you're not going to talk about it, you know, if you're not going to actually talk to each other about what's going on, all that going up and down and talking, it's not going to mean anything. So I just wanted to point that out, that it's a bit disappointing that we don't have enough of our people having this conversation. Dr. Adebayo, I have a question for you. Are you a physician?
No, I'm actually a nurse. My doctorate is in nursing practice. So I'm not a physician.
Nursing, powerful. You and Dr. Ngozi.
Yes.
Powerful.
Yes,
I applaud you. I applaud I applaud you for being here today. So the question I have for each one of you, and that I'll leave on the table and you can run with it. There is a march going on Friday. This march is supposed to draw attention to the plight of the Nigerian people, to the plight of the Christians in the southern part of Nigeria, and quite frankly, throughout Nigeria. So we have this march. What do we think? What are we anticipating will be the consequence of this march? Who are we going to be talking to? And what do we expect at the end of the day to say, okay, this is what we can anticipate to happen? I'll let any one of you take. Well, actually, I expect three of you to respond to this, but I'll start with Dr. Adebayo.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so the march, the reason for the march really is for us to come out there and voice our concerns. I was speaking with a colleague of mine who is African American just about 2 weeks ago about, you know, about the things that are happening in Nigeria, and she said to me, and all this are happening, but I've not seen or heard any Nigerian come out to say this. So that's definitely a big reason for us to be out there, to bring awareness and to also voice concerns. That's number one. Number two, I think we kind of underestimate the power of diplomacy, right? Even though, you know, I know Mr. Onhaya was saying that we can demonstrate. I mean, we can go and and march all we want, blah blah blah. That the leadership is what we need to change. Let me tell you something. You can take President Obama and put him in Nigeria to go and rule. It's still going to be exactly the same problem, because the fabric of our problem is not just the leadership. The document that we're using is a doctored document. It's a fraudulent document, the 1999 Constitution. So it's full of lies. And guess what? Unless we talk about that and we bring it down, believe me, we can change leadership from now till tomorrow, till kingdom come. We'll still get the same results.
Agreed.
Thank you. Agreed. Okay. Who, UD? You want to go next? Or
Yeah,
Dr. Nabantu? I mean, Dr. Ngozi. Go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree with Dr. Adebayo. I mean, you know, courage. We have to get out there. People don't want to talk about it because courage is a very rare commodity. in our community. We're a community of people that have been under the gun, through slavery and colonization. We have been almost taught to be silent and to bear it and to deal with it. Africa is a product of this sort of marginalization and victimization of your state of mind. When you take a people's concept, their sense of national pride, they become destitute, they become violent, and they forever justify their worth by standards that are not of their own choosing. We're a changed people as Africans, and we have to tell the truth and address it. Leadership, we don't have that. And the reason why we don't have the kind of leadership that we want is because that leadership is a reflection of our own state of mind, our own state of being. We have to tell the truth. Why are we in the position that we are in today? Why do we have a junkyard constitution that does not respect its citizens? Why do senators make all this money allocated to them by the government in comparison to other senators maybe in the West? After all, we're running their system, their political system. That's what we're doing. Excuse me. I'm just going to hang up this phone right now. Okay. We need to be courageous, and we need to be inclusive in our effort to solve Nigeria's problem. It's Hausa man's problem. It's Fulani man's problem. It's Igbo man's problem. Calabar, Rivers. No matter what part of Nigeria you come from, we are all going to be affected by this same thing. So we have to come together as one to address and empathize with each Nigerian tribe, with each people that are experiencing this violence. We simply have to come together. I think it was somebody was trying to reach me. We have to come together. We have to acknowledge the suffrage of the people in the North that are experiencing the same violence. We have to acknowledge the fact that Christians are being killed. We have to acknowledge the fact that we are all affected by this violence. If we come together, if we have enough courage to address it and tell the truth about it, we're going to go a long way. Our match on Friday will be very fruitful. We have to address this problem collectively, and that's why I stand on this. We have to address it as a national problem.
All of us. All of us.
All of us. We just have to.
Dr. Ngozi, thank you. Dr. Ngozi.
Right. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. We've all spoken well. Let me quickly quote John Lewis said, "There will never be peace where justice is denied."
Yeah.
It does not matter how long it takes. It does not matter the efforts being made to suppress that. People may be calm temporarily, but if there's no justice, there will never be peace. In Nigeria, I can see there's a progression in lack of peace in the country. Before I talk about what we want to gain from the march, I want to quickly highlight a few things that if it's not addressed in Nigeria, I see Nigeria breaking up. And when Nigerians become so helpless, hopeless, and people become suicidal, nothing matters anymore. I think most Nigerian youths, women, men, and children are at the point right now where nothing matters anymore. And at that point, is very, very dangerous for the existence of any country or even a family. So, self-agitation, which is going on in almost all parts of Nigeria right now. In the West, there's the Oduduwa. In the East, there is the Biafra. In Middle Belt, they're agitating. Even in the North, the Hausas are agitating.
Yeah.
You do not want to be associated with the Fulanese. But the Fulanese, because they've systematically, over the years, have this power of the gun and power of the leadership, they believe they could continue with that for a long time. But it's no longer there. I think that power of the gun, where when innocent people march, the Nigerian government will send military and police to shoot people, not with rubber bullets, as is being done in other countries, but with live bullets. So people are murdered. Nigerians are killed just for protesting bad leadership. Things like that can never continue to happen in Nigeria. The time for reckoning is coming. And those people that have engaged in the massacre of unarmed Nigerians, unarmed youths who are just on the street protesting for bad leadership, and because you have the gun, you control the police, you control the army, you control the MOPOL, you control the DSS, you take people away, you kill people, you jail people just for expressing their opinion. Such move will never last. I also want to bring to your attention the issue of open grazing, which is part of the biggest problem we have in Nigeria today. Open grazing, which the current president is supporting, and most of the governors are kicking against it. Open grazing is one of the biggest problems we have in Nigeria, moving cows from one state to the other. And mind you, these cows, this business are private businesses. So Nigeria, as a secular state, as a country, is sponsoring people's private businesses, which is open grazing, that is used to massacre innocent Nigerians, take their lands, push them into the IDP camps. In particular, like in Plateau State of Nigeria, majority of their citizens right now are inside the IDP camps. That means they've been chasing away from their homes by these Fulani herdsmen that are doing open grazing. And the president of the country is there watching all these things. Let me also talk about a major problem, which is the rehabilitation of terrorists by Nigerian government. These terrorists, both Boko Haram, Fulani jihadists, ISWAP, all these ones, the current president has a policy to rehabilitate non-terrorists. So when they capture them, they rehabilitate them by giving them money, giving them food, and then incorporate them into the Nigerian mainstream. So these terrorists that are being rehabilitated by the current Nigerian leadership end up having positions in the Nigerian military, in the Nigerian police, in the Nigerian DSS. The guns that Nigeria gets from outside the country, these guns end up in the hands of these terrorists that are, in bracket, rehabilitated. And the cycle continues. Yep. When you rehabilitate terrorists in a country, you give them the power to fulfill and carry out your agenda. So those people, the innocent indigenous Nigerians, who said there's no equity, there's no justice, there's no freedom of speech, they end up being massacred by these rehabilitated terrorists that have guns, AK-47, inside. One of our Nigerian representative, and I quote, let me give you the exact quote. What he says is, this is from Gudaji Kazare. He is a member of the ruling party in Nigeria, APC. In an interview with a local television news channel, categorically stated that maybe there is Boko Haram inside Nigerian Army and Air Force. This is from a House of Representative member that belongs to the ruling party of the current president. He quotes on national television there is Boko Haram inside Nigerian Army and Air Force. And you have to ask yourself a question. When Nigerian military, who are Christians, are attacked, who is attacking them? Let me also talk about the Miyetti Allah. The Nigerian Senate currently told the president of Nigeria to declare Miyetti Allah as a terrorist organization. The Miyetti Allah, the current president of Nigeria, is the patron of Miyetti Allah, and he has refused to declare Miyetti Allah as a terrorist organization. The world leaders should encourage the Nigerian president to openly declare Miyetti Allah as a terrorist organization. So these are some of the things whereby you see some people are handled. There is different rules for different parts of the country. And the agitation for Nigerians who believe they are no longer treated as being part of the country, they want to agitate. Self-agitation is not a crime. But I keep telling people, you can only give what you have. You cannot give what you don't know. When you have leaders that do not understand that self-agitation is not a crime, they believe that when people self-agitate, just as people in the southeastern part of Nigeria are doing, just like Nnamdi Kanu, he is being held today in Nigerian DSS is doing, just like the indigenous people of Biafra, who has lost hope in the leadership, who have become helpless and hopeless. And they say they do no longer want to belong to Nigeria because they don't have any feel that they are Nigerians. The next thing that the Nigerian president does is to declare them as a terrorist organization, because he knows the implication of declaring a particular group terrorist organization. But all these terrorist organizations that have been killing Nigerians, taking their farms, doing open grazing, the president has not declared them as terrorist group. So there are different rules for different citizens of Nigeria. And that is why some parts of Nigeria, many of them are agitating today. They do not want to belong to a place where they are not needed. They do not want to belong to a country where there's no equity, there's no justice, there's no fairness. And I think the world leaders need to tell the current Nigerian leadership that such agitation is legal. People have a right to say, I do not want to be with you anymore. Don't send arms, don't send guns to kill them. A lot of Nigerian youths have been massacred just because they say, I do not want to belong in a country where there's no fairness, where there's no equity, and where there's no justice. The only thing that the current president knows when people want to self-agitate is to force them. So they have systematically over the years, because of their political leadership and what they gained from Nigeria, refused to hear anybody say, oh, I don't want to be in Nigeria anymore because I don't trust the system anymore. So they need to know it is not illegal. It is not a crime. If somebody say, I don't want to be, if a husband and wife, and somebody say, I don't want to be your wife anymore, you don't go shooting that person. You don't go locking her up. You don't go dehumanizing that person just because the woman say, I don't want to be your husband, or I don't want to be your wife anymore. You let them go. If you do not want to let them go, then you address those issues which they keep pointing out that makes them to be depressed, to be helpless, to be hopeless. Recently in Nigeria, they wanted to pass electronic collation of voters' voting results. Electronic collation of election results in Nigeria today. Most of the leadership kicked against it. So people vote, and their vote is upturned, and somebody is imposed on them. How can you have a fair country when things like that continue to happen? You can only kill so many. You cannot kill the whole Nigerians. The agitation will continue unless the current president address the problem of Nigeria. And Nigerians do not even trust them any longer to address those issues. That is why majority of Nigerians are calling for independent referendum. Independent referendum that will not be controlled by the current Nigerian leadership. So people can say, I want to be, or I do not want to be. People have the power and the right to do things like that. So for the march coming up on October the 8th, which is this Friday, the march was organized by concerned Nigerians in Georgia and United States of America to bring to international world, to bring to the notice of the world of the killings and the insecurity going on in Nigeria. To let the world know how people are being dehumanized just because they want out of the system. To show the world how Nigerian Christians are being killed just because they said, I don't want open grazing in my farm. And they are killed. They are butchered. Pregnant women are killed. Their necks are chopped off. Their wombs are opened. Their innocent child is brought up and killed. It is going on in Nigeria every single day. If the international community does not address this, when the chaos breaks out, it's already breaking out. A chaos in Nigeria is a chaos to the whole world. A population of over 200 million. It is a big number to handle. So for the march coming up on Friday, it's going to be in downtown Atlanta. We're going to start from the walkway at Centennial Olympic near CNN. And we're going to walk to the Liberty Plaza, where we're going to have a couple of speakers talk to us. And after that, we're going to march back through CNN back to where we started. The march is going to start from 1 p.m. and we're going to end about 3 p.m. The march is going to be fully secured. We encourage all Nigerians to come out during this march. And part of what we want in the march is to let the international world know, including United States and Britain, when they sell arms and ammunition to Nigeria, it ends up in the hand of terrorists. Because the terrorists in Nigeria are rehabilitated and put back into the Nigerian system. So all the guns and ammunitions, most of them end up in the hand of the terrorists. The second thing, so we want them to be very, very mindful of that and reduce or stop the sale of arms to Nigeria, because those arms end up in the hand of terrorists. Yep. The second thing we also want the current president to dialogue with Nigerians that are agitating. He has to dialogue with Nigerians that are agitating, because Nigeria does not belong to him. He will soon be out of power and somebody else will come into power. And maybe that person will be able to dialogue with Nigerians. And we do not want Nigeria to break up under this current administration. That is the more reason why he has to dialogue with all these agitators. Another thing we are asking for, we want the Nigerian government to ban open grazing in Nigeria. And we want all the Nigerian state governors to follow the trend of some of the governors that have already signed that, like Lagos State, Enugu State, a couple of states. We want them to sign laws that ban open grazing, because open grazing leads to loss of lives of our women, of our children, by these Fulani herdsmen who goes around with AK-47. Another thing we are asking the Nigerian president to declare Miyetti Allah as a terrorist group. And then we have to also demand that the current president release all the political prisoners that he's holding, including Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of IPOB, Sunday Igboho, the leader of Odua, and a lot of students, a lot of innocent youths that are languishing in Nigerian jails, DSS. We want him to release them. These youths are not asking for anything but asking you to dialogue with them, listen to them, and be part of the solution. So he should release them. And lastly, we also want the president to adhere to fair judicial process in the matters of those who are wrongly detained, and then to allow Nigerians to air their opinions. So basically, this is an ongoing process, and we're going to start it this Friday, and we encourage all Nigerians to join us, and we're going to continue to agitate. We're going to continue to press for the progress and peaceful existence of Nigeria. The 1999 Constitution has already been said by Dr. Adebayo and Bayudi. You cannot have any solid engagement in a wobbly or shabby constitution. That constitution needs to be revisited, needs to be changed to represent what is called Nigeria. So this is part of what the march is all about. Yeah.
Absolutely powerful. I think you touched upon everything very, very clearly. I think very honestly that this should be the beginning of Nigerians coming together and bringing to light some of the challenges that we're experiencing. Not as Dr. Adebayo said, for the longest, we haven't said anything. There's nothing wrong with speaking up. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I know what the consequences are that we're experiencing right now. But if the Nigerians understand that part of the problem is us not speaking up, part of the problem is us accepting the status quo. But it cannot continue anymore. For the future of our children, even the government understand. I'm sure they do. It's you have to understand. It's not all members of the government think alike. There are some. I listen to the Senate. The Nigerian Senate. Sometimes I go in there and I listen, and there are some of them that are very emphatically demanding that something is done about what's going on. So it's not all our leaders the challenges, but it's important that we let our leaders know that we are not happy, that we don't want this to continue. It cannot continue. You cannot grow a country as powerful as Nigeria, by allowing the chaos to continue every single day. You're seeing all these killings and all this, and then you have to ask yourself, where are the leaders? Where are the leaders? But it's gotten to the point now that some of the leaders, some are being targeted. So we don't know, we don't know who's leading now and who's not leading, who's the enemy and who's the friend. We don't know. But the only way that we're going to change anything is to have the courage to come out and speak on it. And I think that the purpose of the march, as Dr. Ngozi has stated, is well said. It is to bring attention. The world should care. The world should care. What's going on, what affects Nigeria affects everyone. It's just like us here in America. When something is going wrong here, when Americans are marching, we go out there and we march with them. When we see things are going wrong here, we say something about it. Heck, we were putting a France on our avatars on Facebook. So you see, it is imperative now that we talk about ourselves, speak out loud and clearly about our dissatisfaction, and also expect America, the world, to be a part of this. The world has to care. They need to come out and march. If you have not prepared yourself to be a part of this march, you should. You should. There are three kinds of people in this world: those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who say, what the heck happened? Which one are you going to be? Take your pick. Be one of those who make things happen. And that's what we're going to do on Friday. We have a right to speak up. we have the right to speak up. We have the right to alert the world that this is going on. And I think, quite frankly, if we have the courage to say, okay, listen to us, I think we'll stir up enough water that people will start paying attention, because we're not allowing it anymore. We're not letting it go. Ladies and gentlemen,
may I
thank you so much.
Dr.
Yes,
Uwa, I'm sorry. May I just add something real quick? And it's just one point. Very well said, Dr. Ngozi and Dr. Uwa, that we need to start speaking up now. But one other thing that we should know, the power of speaking up, is that it enables us to hold our leaders accountable, because they have been used to us not holding them accountable. That's why they've gone rogue, if I may use that word, right? And that's why they're doing all the things that they're doing. And that's why, again, they can doctor elections and do all of those, because the people back home cannot hold them accountable. But then if we that are here can speak up the way we are, we're invariably holding them accountable, and we're asking the world to help us to hold them accountable as well. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And one more thing, Professor Uwa, one more thing. There's so many people that really wanted to join this program. So I don't really know what is happening. I've been getting so many texts and so many comments. So probably, trust me, a lot of Nigerians are watching. And in this Atlanta, we just have to probably, for the next one, send out enough information. All the speakers, actually, for this show, they're all online. They've been texting me. One is asking for passcode. Dr. Hanotu has been calling. Dr. Chuba has been calling me. Dr. Onyama
I sent all of them. I sent all of them.
So probably maybe we'll have another one very soon and bring all these people together. But a lot of people are watching, and they are texting me as the show is going on. Thank you so much for a job well done.
Excellent. And let me just say this to those who could not make it today. I know where your heart is. I know even the fact that you possibly initiated wanting to be a part of it. I understand that things happen, and for whatever reason, you're not here today. But at least we know that you are part of this fight. We know that you're going to be out there at this march, and you're going to participate, and we're going to talk to people, and we're going to encourage as many people. I'm saying from now till Friday, I want everybody. We talked about it the other day, didn't we? Take your phone, make it, do a short video and say, go out there and join the conversation, the march. The march is part of the conversation. So everybody, please do all that you can to support this march, because if we can't support it, if we're not out there to speak up, what are we all? That's what we're about. All right. Thank you so very much for joining the show. And yes, Ngozi, let's do it again. And I'm looking forward to another opportunity to bring us together. Thank you, DBR for your wonderful contribution. Dr. Adebayo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And on that note, we are going to end the show this evening. Thank you. You all have a wonderful evening. We'll see you on Friday.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.